Yeah, hello and welcome to a new video. This video is about the last 4 games I played at the European Club Cup that has finished 2 days ago in Slovenia, and I had a really outstanding start with 2.5 points out of 3, which was covered in the first video. And well, the goal was to make my final international master norm. So with this good start, it was important to keep the score at least, and try not to lose the game, and score maybe 1.5 to 2 points to really finalize that norm. Well, in the fourth round, we got a pretty strong opposing team. We started with, as a team, we started with a loss in the first round, then won in the second, and we made a really strong 3-3 draw in the third round versus the Hungarian team. So it was a really good start. And yeah, fourth round we got the team from Italy, which was composed of a couple of experienced Italian international masters on boards 3 to 6, and they had 2 foreign players as their top boards. And second board was Arthur Kogan from Israel. He's rated 2563, so I was glad to get a strong opponent again, but I think it was not the most convenient opponent you can get, because from the preparation angle it was difficult, because he basically plays all openings. Yeah, he plays sorry, he plays on a regular basis both e4, d4, c4, knight f3, so it was hopeless to really guess what he would play. When I look at the game now, I think I made a mistake there, because well, in case of that he plays d4, which he did. Let's do the first couple of moves. He played d4. I think, well, in case of this move, I think it would have been possible maybe to guess what he would play, but well, after the game you always know better. Yeah. Okay, let's see what happened. I played d5. Well, c4, e6, knight c3, and bishop e7. Yeah, this solid line, or the start of this solid line, I had prepared for the tournament, and now he went for the exchange on d5 and bishop f4. Yeah, this is also a line that I recommended for white in one of my d4 repertoire videos. So it's a pretty logical choice from his point of view. As he also, in other d4 games he played, he also liked to exchange on d5. So maybe I could have guessed it and did some more preparation, but I'm not sure. It really, this game didn't really give me so much direct problems in the opening, but maybe it would have been better to be more prepared for this. Yeah, I played knight f6 here, and he went for e3. Well, one thing here, black here mainly chooses between c6 and knight c6, knight f6, and the difference is that if black plays not this one, but c6, one popular continuation here is e3, bishop f5, which looks at first sight pretty good for black, because you get this bishop developed early, but then he has got the option to play g4, and in case of bishop g6, which is maybe a questionable move, he can even play h4, because it's not good to take on h4 on account of queen b3, and it's difficult to cover both the b7 pawn and keep the bishop on h4 protected. So I cannot simply play this because the bishop is hanging. Yeah, I don't like these setups with g4. So my choice was knight f6, and also I did prepare this because of this kind of line. He played e3 now, which is logical, and now bishop f5. This is similar, but it prevents g4. One line that white can try now is queen b3, after which knight c6 leads to a very interesting play. White might even grab this pawn, but after knight b4, black gets a really nice counterplay for the pawn. It would be a little bit too much to go into details of this variation. Well, it's okay for black. Yeah, it's also been played by a couple of strong grandmasters. Even Kramnik played it more than once. So it's certainly a correct pawn sacrifice. But what he played is entirely different. He went for bishop e2 here, which is a rare move. It was only played a couple of times before, and it's interesting. It's an interesting try. The idea is maybe after all to play g4, just prepare g4, and it's still flexible. White doesn't really need to play g4, but he can under the right circumstances. Here I played c6, which I was not sure about in the game, because well, this g4 move, it's a bit uncomfortable to face this. He played g4 now. Maybe it's would have been an idea to instead of go for this, just to castle here, and I think it's questionable then if he really wants to play g4 now. I just retreat to e6 and then play for c7, c5. Oops, that was the wrong key. Then play for c7, c5 to get some counterplay. Not sure. It's my problem was that I didn't study these kind of positions so good, and therefore I lost really a lot of time to get acquainted with this. So, well, c6 is still okay, but castling would have been interesting. He now played g4. And now it's a very difficult decision, at least for me it was a difficult decision, whether to go to e6 or to g6. And I was aware that bishop g6 maybe is somewhat risky, but I played it anyway. Bishop e6 is certainly a bit more solid. We will see in the game why bishop e6 is somewhat more solid. Bishop g6, and then he played h4. And now went for h5. The computer actually even suggests to just play h6 here, but I don't like this move at all. Well, my idea was h5, g5, or forced, and knight e4. Yeah, I thought this should be really okay for black, because I lack a bit of space here, and it's a good idea to exchange one knight. I still think this was a good idea. One problem with this kind of pawn setup here is that the h5 pawn might be weak at some point. If you look at this configuration, or rather the other way around, this can be a problem in the long run, especially if you consider that the knight might come to f4 as well, and then h5 will be a problem. And this is the reason why putting the bishop in g6 might be a bit risky. With the bishop in e6, I always have the option just to play g7, g6. So if I would have gone to e6, this kind of configuration would have been simpler. but on the other hand I wouldn't have the opportunity to put the knight on e4. So okay, he went for f3 here, and I captured on c3. Also interesting would have been knight to d6 in order to get this idea in. I think this also should be okay for black, but I took on c3 because in this kind of setup here I thought that also would be somewhat risky for white. This kind of position, because the king doesn't have a natural place here anymore where it would go. Maybe to f2, but this is still a bit airy here. Okay, knight d7. Now he went for knight h3, and now I played I think an interesting move. It's okay, but my problem was that I played bad afterwards. I played knight f8 here. Alternatives. Knight b6, in order to keep an eye on the c4 square and maybe prevent white from playing c3, c4. And also I could have castled here. This is a computer move actually, which didn't really cross my mind at all, because it looks somewhat strange to castle here. Well, this advanced pawns, and maybe he moves the bishop, and then f4 and h5 is just hanging. I wasn't sure, so I didn't think about this at all. The computer still gives this as equal, but well, I actually still like my idea of knight f8. Now he went for c4, knight e6. This was of course the idea of knight f8, and queen b3. And now I made a mistake, and a serious mistake. It still doesn't really spoil the position completely, but I had the correct idea here, but I just made a little calculation mistake here. What I should play here is here at this point is really castles, and I think this is actually really fine for black. The idea here is, in case of white takes on b7, to play bishop d6. White then I think needs to take on d6, and then for instance with the threat of knight g3, queen to g3, he should maybe play king to f2, and then I have a really interesting compensation for the pawn with ideas like rook b8, rook b2. Note that the bishop on g6 is always covering this b1 square, and white has still problems with his pieces here. This knight doesn't have a good square really, because the knight e6 is covering f4, and this is really I think a really nice position in this concrete. Oops, just have a look at this. I think white needs to cover this with the king, and then I can just take here. For instance, if he now captures, this b2 square is wide open. I think this is already great for black. I think in the game I had the feeling that white has a little bit overextended, but I just played this idea in a wrong move order. What I did, I played bishop d6 immediately. After that he captured, takes on d5, cd5, this much I had anticipated, and then he just has the simple move queen b5 check, and this simple check I didn't take into account. I was just thinking about, okay, if he takes on b7, I castle and have a similar position as shown before with rook b8, b2, queen g3, and so on. And this is a brilliant position if he would take. But after this move I have the problem that I don't want to play king f8, of course. Then he can even take on b7. The computer actually, I think this is also unclear, but I didn't want to go into this, and king e7 makes no sense at all as he takes b7 with check, so I was more or less forced to play queen d7. Now we went for rook c1, and now this kind of pawn structure just favors white in the long term, because I have these weaknesses, and let's just make a couple of more moves. I don't have anything better than exchanging here now. Exchanged, king e7. So let's stop at this position. And this is, in the long term, somewhat favorable for white, because I have two long-term weaknesses on h5 and also d5. While white has no real pawn weaknesses, he can easily cover, let's say, those pawns. It's very unrealistic that I get some pressure on the e-file or something, and I cannot attack any pawns of his, while he always has those ideas to get the knight here, which is prevented at the moment, okay, but he's got also ideas of maybe knight to g3, like this, bishop e2, and then f4, and at the end h5 is under pressure. It's very uncomfortable to play this position, and I actually lost this really quickly, which shows that I didn't defend it too well, but it was really not not fun to play this. But we can look what I did wrong in the following moves. I started with rook c8, which is, I think, still okay. He went for knight f2, which makes sense because it's not realistic anymore to go to f4, but he might try to reroute the knight this way, or maybe this way. So knight f2 is perfectly logical. And now I played a bad move. I was already a little bit down on time. I'm not sure, but he played all his moves rather quickly, and which was really uncomfortable. And I made 7. I played, and it was based on a wrong calculation. He played bishop a4 now, which I expected, to get the idea of bishop b3 in to attack d5, and my original idea here was to play bishop f5, and then when it was at this point, I recognized that moves like rook f5 are very very annoying here, with a simple idea to get the other rook on c1. I cannot play b6 to evict this rook, and if I go here, he will play this, and this gets somewhat ugly. I also wasn't sure about which minor pieces I should exchange and not exchange. Well, this looks yeah, it's not a nice position. Maybe it's all holdable in some way, but it's no fun. Well, I just went back to e6 here, and it's still not completely lost or something, but white just can try on. Rook e1 now, which doesn't do much, but improves the position a bit, and it clears h1 for the knight. Now I decided to exchange and go for f6, which is, I think, okay. Now he made a mistake, the only real one in the game, besides maybe the opening setup, which I think was rather risky. If I would have gone for this castling idea at move 15, I think I would have gotten a nice position. He now should just take on f6 here. He played bishop b3, which is a slight mistake, but I didn't capitalize on this. I was already short on time. I played king d6 here. What I should have done is rook d8, cover this pawn with the rook, and then if he takes on f6, recapture with the king. This is simply more interesting way to defend this, with the idea of maybe dropping the bishop to f5 or f7 and then play either g5 with the idea to get some counterplay with the h-pawn, or try bishop move g6 and then knight g7 f5. For instance, let's just use the arrows, something like this. If it all all went nicely, I get to this. This is just a tougher defense. I played king d6. Now he captured. He could have avoided that if he would just have captured immediately on f6 instead of playing bishop b3. Now knight h1, bishop f7, knight g3, and now I think I maybe should have just returned to g6 or something. It gets now uncomfortable, really uncomfortable. h5 is weak, and I don't really get my knight to f5. Maybe bishop g6 would have been better here. This allowed the move e4 immediately. And after my next move it's lost. Really, I played b6. I was really short on time now, but yeah, well, rook f8 was the tougher move. For instance, king e3, he can just simply improve the position. Maybe also keeping in mind that he can always play even even this maneuver to attack both pawns. So oops, let's return here. Maybe let's say this, and then it's a sort of Zugzwang position. I cannot make a really good move here. For instance, if I take on e4 to release the pressure on d5, he might take here and gets to c5. I just lose a pawn, or yeah, it's terrible. b6, but b6 was even simpler for white, because he got in f4 with the idea of pushing e5. I cannot take on e4, of course, as this is hanging. f7 is hanging. I went for rook g8, well, e5 check, king d7 and f5, and at this point I resigned, as I cannot stop e6 and I don't have I don't have any decent move. He can just play e6 and my pieces are so bad, so it's just a lost position, so I resigned. Yeah, the key moment here really came early. This move bishop d6 was really bad. It's difficult to say how I can hold this position that arises afterwards, but I really should have got castling here with this line, and then this bishop b6 idea. I had the correct idea. I just made it in the wrong move order, missing this check on b5. To be honest, I think this position is already somewhat better for black. I like it for black more. Let's say it this way, because I have a clear plan to make use of his king position, and he cannot really take on b7. So this would have been a really good chance to maybe get something more out of this game than this torturous position that I got. Yeah, this kind of structure. Yeah, it would be interesting to look at this with the strong player to determine which defense plan would have been better here. I talked to him briefly after the game, and he agreed that this is really a terrible position to defend. But we didn't look at it in detail. He also couldn't really tell what would be the best way to defend this. Yeah, okay, this was a loss in the fourth round, but it wasn't so bad in terms of tournament standings, because I already had this win in round 3, so these two sort of evened out. The team did bad in this round. We what was the final result? I think we lost 1-5 or something. They really crushed us. So the next round meant that we would get some easier opposition. The next round, I can switch colors here. I got white again. We got paired against the White Rose team from England. Yeah, they played with Richard Pelliser on board 1, the I think well-known writer. I think he works for Everyman and writes lots of books there. And 5 players rated around 2,250 or something. And my opponent also was rated like this, 2-53. His name was Paul Townsend, and I got white again, and it was pretty easy. I just needed to I needed to win this game. Everything else was really not acceptable for the Norm Hunt. I went for knight f3, and the preparation wasn't so easy. I had a couple of games of him, but it wasn't so easy to guess what he might play. I think it was clear that it would be something with d5, so no King's Indian or Dutch or something, but he played various setups, so I just went with my usual things. Interestingly, I got exactly the same position out of the Catalan opening, which I already had in round 3, but now he went for c6, the closed variation of the Catalan. Was a pleasant surprise. Usually this line is difficult to handle for black. It is playable, of course, but you really need to know all the ins and outs to get a good position, and generally speaking a few people can do that. I played knight c3 here, which is possible because of the move order with c6. He played b6 now. If he takes now on c4, I have the possibility to play knight e5, as he cannot cover this because the pawn is just hanging because of the bishop. So I can afford to play knight c3 here to get the knight on the active post on c3. Played b6 now, which well fits into the scheme that black is aiming for. Knight e5, bishop b7 at e4. Yeah, it was funny. At this point, I think almost he thought for, I don't know, 15 minutes or something, and it was really interesting because there's a well-known trap here, which he fell into, but it was really remarkable that he played this after 15 moves, because I was sure that he spotted the trap and was looking for something else. But he still played it, so he played knight bd7, which is a clear mistake. It loses the pawn, actually. We'll see in the game. What black should play is either knight a6 or a risky line, take on c4, which runs something like this. To grab this pawn here, which is very risky. White has great compensation for the pawn, as the queen side is so weakened, but well, it's better than the game for sure. Well, he played knight bd7, which is a really well-known mistake. White can take here, and bishop c6, e takes d5, and now I played bishop b7, just to show what happens if he takes. Black now saves the piece. I have d6, queen g2, d7, and I'm just a pawn up. This has happened in really lots of games, even with very strong players playing black. So he's not the first one to fall into this. He actually went for bishop b7 immediately, which is similar, but in this kind of position I don't have the isolated pawn on d4, so I think this is even worse than the other line. Rook fd8, and now I made a big mistake, and well, the move was bad, but it was also very bad that I played this so quickly. I think it was difficult to start thinking right now, because all moves before I could play instantly. They're all book moves or well-known things. So at this point, he already had spent 40 minutes and I had spent nothing. So this was the first move I was thinking about, and I played rather quickly queen e2, which somehow made sense to get the queen out of the d file. And I think I just relaxed too much. I was very glad that he made this mistake, and I thought, okay, I will win this anyway now. But this is a mistake. I should play just b3 here. We will see now what was the problem. He can play queen b4 now, and this is actually somewhat uncomfortable, because he just tries to attack c4, and I cannot play b3 because the knight is hanging. I'm a bit behind the development here, and I didn't see a way to protect this pawn. I also didn't want to play d4, d5. Let's just have a look. Oops. Because I wasn't sure about this kind of position. Knight c4, knight g4. It didn't look very comfortable to me. So I invested, I don't know, almost 20 minutes or something, and then came up with knight b5, which wasn't a move I really liked to play, but well, what can you do? He now played a6 and knight a3. This was the idea, to reroute the knight from c3 to a3 to cover this pawn. Looks ridiculous, but yeah, I have no choice. Otherwise, I cannot return the pawn in some way, because this would even leave me with a worse position. Rook c8 now. Looks logical. b3. Well, I think white is still better here, but it was awful to get the knight from c3 to a3. Yeah, b3. I think now he makes a mistake. He goes for b5 now, which looks active, and somehow you always want to play active moves when you're pawn down. Try to steer up trouble. But I think this is actually a bad idea, because I went for bishop b2 now, and now he doesn't really have a choice but to take on c4, as otherwise I might take myself and just grab b5, and then I'm 2 pawns up. And this actually gets my knight back into the game. And this configuration here also means that I have ideas like this, bishop a3 and knight d6. So the problem with my knight was solved. Sorry. So this is really still fine for me, and it's easier to play now. I think he should have done something else instead of b5 maybe. Yeah, he went for a5, and now bishop a3, queen b5, and queen f6 to get out of the pin. And now I just threaten knight d6, and now he makes a mistake, rook c6, and this leads by force to almost winning endgame. It's a long line, but he should have avoided this. Bishop e7, rook a8, and rook c1, and this threatens knight a5. He's got a weak back rank. This is the threat. I just see he plays queen d5 now, which is a relatively best move. Now captured. queen d5, knight d5, and knight a5. This was the problem with this rook placement, because the back rank is so weak. So played this just to show it quickly. Cannot capture because of the mate here. And well, he captured, oops, he didn't capture but played rook ca6. And yeah, here originally I saw two lines here. At first I thought I could just play, knight b7, oops, and then a4 next move and it's over, but he's got this annoying move, just postponing to take here, and then he might even play this one in the future, and I think I cannot hold this pawn. So I went for something else, knight c6, and this directly transposes into a rook endgame. He has no choice, he has to take now. Takes this neat little trick, so he needs to return. Takes on d5, ed5, and this rook endgame is winning for white. I played it very yeah, let's say I made it more complicated than I needed to, really. Here I was also low on time, and what I made a mistake to play too quickly now in the next couple of moves, and then it got somewhat tricky again. King f8, logical. b5. We went for rook b8. I'm not sure that this is the best one either. Rook c5, rook d8, king f3, and now I went for king e7. And now two times I just miss a very easy win. I played the next move instantly. I think I didn't think much about this. King e3 I made, but this is bad. I can just play the check here, and this is just completely winning. He needs to go to maybe here to cover this pawn, and then I can even just push here. Because of the weak 7th rank, this is an automatic win. Yeah, and this would have been very easy. Played king e3, played this one, rook c6 check, king e7 back, and now I can again give this check, but I thought I could just run over with the king. Now went for this, rook c5, and now he enters the position with rook a1. I think what I did is still winning, but it would have been much easier to give this check on c7, of course. Rook c2, rook d1, king c3, rook b1. He couldn't approach the pawn because this is a check here. Check with the king. Rook b1, rook b2 back. Yeah, we got this far. Let's just now I cannot make more progress here with the king, so I decided to take it, and I think this is still winning with the king cut off by the rook here. I think this is okay what I played. Maybe I could have done something simpler, but this is winning. I'm now just approaching these pawns on the king side and win them, and also the d pawn is it's now free to go. So this was a pretty easy win. And now f5 is dropping as well. Yeah, I played technically. I didn't play this really good, but I was really nervous, yeah, because it was pretty clear if I win this, that the chances for the norm would increase dramatically. This was the 5th round, only 2 rounds to go, and well, you always do some calculation beforehand. So it was clear if I win this game that it might be possible to get the norm with just 1 point out of 2 games, or under some circumstances even half a point out of 2 games would have been okay. But yeah, we lost the match again, so the next team was even weaker than this one. We got paired with the team from Slovenia, the home team. They had more than one team, but this was one of the weaker ones. I got black, and my opponent is a FIDE Master rated 2316, Dennis Guran, or Guran. Yeah, he didn't have so many games in the database, and but I was pretty sure that we would get an Italian game here, well, my plan was to offer a rather quick draw, because it was clear that 2 draws would have been okay to get this norm. Let's just see what happened. We got this really standard line of the Italian. Rook e1, bishop e6, and now this was move 10, and I offered a draw here. I was surprised because he declined. Okay, I'm rated like 70-80 points higher or something, but I had a great tournament before. Thought, okay, maybe he would just take the draw and I don't know, enjoy the tournament as a spectator for this day. But okay, he wanted to fight. Still, it's a solid position for black. I just took on b3, rook e8, knight g3, d5. So all very logical. Now I expected really queen e2 to keep the queens on in case of my exchange on e4, but he just went for b4. Okay, a draw was fine with me, so I wasn't looking for much more to exchange here. Rook d8, and okay, this is another pair of pieces exchanged. King f1 and knight e8, which is a standard maneuver here. Maybe get the knight to d6 and then even play f6 at some point to get this knight moving. This is actually the only real issue with black's position, that this knight doesn't do much. It is very much restricted by these pawns, and always needs to protect e5. So it's a good idea to give e5 some other protection and then make it possible to move this knight. He now surprised me with h4, and well, my instant reaction was that this should be a bad move. It was funny because after the game he told me that he had seen this idea in a Grandmaster game, and I looked it up, and it was really played. This exact position was reached before in a Grandmaster game. The white player was Viktor Bologan from Moldavia, rated 2670 or something, and he played also h4. His opponent, I forgot the name now, is also a strong Grandmaster. He replied knight d6, which I also thought about, but I played something else. And white actually won a nice game. He played h5 now, and really had some pressure long term, mainly because this can be a nice square for a knight, and yeah, white is a bit better here. It's got some space advantage. I played something else. I played knight f6, which also I played this rather quickly because it seemed very logical to me to return the knight here in order to get on g4, because he needs to play some unnatural moves now. Knight g4 is really a threat, so he now went for knight e1, which I think is almost the only really decent move here. The idea is, if I go here now, he can really play f3. There is no mate or something. For instance, I can give this check. Takes, and then knight f5. I don't have a good square here. Let's say this. Yeah, this bishop has no square now, only d2, and this is easily defended. So knight g4 doesn't really needs too much. I then went for bishop b6. I think this was a good idea actually. Played king e2 now, and now a5. This was the idea of bishop b6. He needs to take now. It's no good to play b5. Let's just say this, and this is bad for white because of those weaknesses here. The knight will get into play on c6 now. He maybe needs to take now. So b takes a5 really was the only move. Took with the knight now, and this solved the problem of this stupid knight on c6, because the knight now has possibilities to go on these weak squares. Played rook a3 now, and now knight c4. Yeah, this is somewhat also motivated by the fact that a draw would be fine. So he went rook a4 now, and knight a5, again with the idea of playing knight to b3 and then maybe knight to c5. So he went back, repeated once more, and now he again avoided the draw. I actually don't understand what he was doing here, because I mean he's just playing for a win with no justification in this position. Yeah, okay, knight b3, and now he doesn't have much else than this move. Takes on e3, and now he needs to take with the pawn. Cannot take here because of this simple trick. So well, this position evaluated as much better for black, and I was surprised that the computer actually gives this as almost equal. It's hard to believe because of the pawn weaknesses. Okay, they're not so easy to attack, but I mean those weaknesses, of course, and this kind of things. But okay, he's got some activity. Rook a7, rook b8, needed to cover this. Returns. Now we get this kind of position. Yeah, this is of course more comfortable for black, but I made a mistake soon afterwards. Knight f1, h5, the normal move to fix the pawns here and maybe get this one in later. It's all pretty logical, I think. It's c4 now. Yeah, and at this point, if I want to play for a win here, which I could, I think, from a positional point of view, I need to play g5 now. I had another idea, but I overlooked something really simple, or forgot something really simple. I played this now with this idea, and I just forgot that he could play knight c3 to d5. I should have oops, here I should have tried something like this. And this can be still annoying for white to defend, to say the least. I didn't yet analyze this in detail. I have to say, I just simply forgot that he could go to d5 here. So in this position, after knight c6, I offered to draw again. After I offered on move 10, and this time he actually accepted. Okay, white has nothing to play for. He just needs to go to a4 now, and then I maybe would have played rook b8 in order to answer knight d5 with b5. and it's I think it's hard to say. Maybe it's still somewhat more comfortable for black because of the pawn weakness, but white has activity. I think, yeah, maybe it's equal. Maybe it's just equal. Well, I needed a draw here in this game, and he took it, so I was glad. Yeah, the next thing was we lost this match again. The team lost the match again. This time it was a rather narrow affair, but okay, we lost. So in the last round we got the team from Denmark. My opponent there was rated next game was rated 2,250, and it was easy. A draw would be the norm. I just couldn't afford to lose. Unfortunately, somehow I didn't get a color change, so I didn't get white. I got black again. But okay, we'll see. This game was a quick affair. He played e4, e5, knight c3, knight f6, knight f3, knight c6, d4, e takes, bishop b4. He took on c6 and offered a draw. So, yeah, I just accepted, of course, and was glad to get the norm in the back. Yeah, he told me that he had already the day before he already had offered a draw after move 6 because he wanted to enjoy enjoy the other games, look at the top players, and also enjoy the weather on the outside, which was understandable. We had a great weather all week. And so he also wasn't aware that I needed a draw for the for the norm, so it was really funny and somewhat lucky that I didn't need to play there. Okay, usually I should manage to draw a game who are this kind of rated player, but it's a matter of nerves and so on. And I was really glad that I didn't need to fight. Didn't need to fight there. So yeah, I think overall, if you look at the 7 games, the key game really was the game in round 3 where I managed to beat this guy from Hungary, rated almost 2,500, and this really helped a lot to increase the rating average and to get some points in, so I could afford the loss versus Kogan in round 4. Yeah, after all in all, it was a brilliant tournament as a whole. Very nicely done by the Slovenian guys there. Nice, really nice playing halls. We had three rooms for all the teams, and I can heavily recommend to, if you get I don't know, if you get the chance to qualify with your team or something, it's just a great event. So it's heavily recommended to play there if there's a possibility. Also, if it's a future tournaments are done in near you, I don't know. The next one is in Israel in 2012. I don't know, but maybe it's future years maybe bring this tournament closer to you. Then it's really nice also to watch and look at all the great players. It was really nice to just I don't know, get a coffee in the morning in a cafe outside, and you have all those guys like, I don't know, Boris Gelfand or Shirov or those guys strolling along. It's just funny. Yeah, well, thanks for watching, and also think of subscribing to the channel if you like to get informed about new videos. I'll also do some more 5-minute games with commentary. Maybe not today, tomorrow, because I'm very tired. Those 7 days really really took some effort to play, and also the journey back was rather long. So watch out in the next couple of days for new videos of Blitz games. And well, yeah, thanks for watching, and well, up to until the next video. Yeah, thanks and bye.